Racing League. We are here for the Tuesday GR2 or Group 2 challenge that the Ultimate Racing League runs. Now we are at the, if I hope I'm saying this properly, the Autopolis International Raceway, but we are on the short course, not the usual longer course. Now I'm not too sure how long this actually is, so apologies for that, but we are on the short course at the Autopolis. We are in the Lexus, the RCF GT500. Everybody is in the same car, so it has proved to be some great racing throughout this season. So what we will do is we're going to quickly run down the grid, and then we're going to get this race underway because it is an hour's race, and then we'll go through some of the rules as we go through. So after qualifying, we have got GMAC in pole position, Chuck is in second, Paul is in third, Graham is fourth, Archer is fifth, Grasshopper sixth, Cherry Bomb seventh, Brian Moncani 8th, Motorstorm Hero is 9th, and Bry the Mechanic is in 10th. So only 10th on the grid, but I'm sure we're in some great racing. So as I say, we'll get this race underway, and then we can have a chat about rules, etc. as we go along. So GMAC gets just waiting for the klaxon as he crosses the start-finish line and heads down towards turn 1. No real corner names for this track, surprisingly enough. There are one or two, but like first turn is very inventive and is called first corner. So we won't go into that too much, shall we? But you can see everybody lining up, jostling for position. GMAC is out in front with Chuck still in second, teammate Paul third, Archer still in fourth. Then we've got a bit of a battle for fifth as Grasshopper tries to make his way through the pack and gets himself up into fifth. Cherry Bomb is in sixth, Brian Moncani seventh, Motorstorm Hero 8th, and Graham and Bry the Mechanic in 9th and 10th. Now Motorstorm Hero is one of the guys to watch. We often see him starting at the back or near the back, but manages to fight his way through to the front. So he is definitely one to keep an eye on. As GMAC starts to open a little bit of a gap, he's got himself a bit of breathing space from himself back to Paul, who's now moved up into second. Both of these guys on the soft tyres. Now all compounds have to be used in any order you like. And I also believe that the damage is on as well. So the other week it was full damage on, which means if you do get damage, you have to pit to get it repaired. I'm not sure if that's still the case, because there's a bit of controversy behind that, obviously, because it can ruin your race. I suppose the answer there is don't crash, but we shall see. As let's go down the order then. So Grasshopper sitting behind Paul in third. He is on the softs. Chuck, he is the first out there on the racing hards, and he is in fourth position, so he's doing a good job actually of keeping up with the guys in front of him. Cherry Bomb has decided to go with the mediums for the first stint, so he'll be looking to get by Chuck as quick as he can and try and make them tyres count for him. Motorstorm Hero on the soft, so I'm expecting him to make his way through the pack. He's already up to 6, as we've just seen Chuck dive into the pit, so he's had enough of the hards. Brian Moncani in 6, Archer 7th, Graham 8th, and Brian the Mechanic now moved up to 9th as Chuck is still in the pits. So change of tyres for Chuck. I think he's done his minimum. I'm not sure if it's 2 laps. I think it is 2 laps. I can't remember. I do apologise. It's either 2 or 3 laps you have to do. It must be 2 because Chuck's come in at the end of lap 2. So minimum of 2 laps on each compound tyre. So Chuck is now out on the softs, and you can see he's got a bit of catching up to do, but bear in mind the guys in front of him haven't pitted, so he will make that time up, and he will catch them up pretty shortly. Still out in front though is GMAC from the BFER racing team. Not got his teammates with him. We usually have I think TJ is usually in there, but he's not turned up for this race, which is unfortunate, as has quite a few really. But GMAC out in front doing a good job as we approach turn 1. and then straight into turn 2. More of a little dent in the road, I think, turn 2, but there you go. Paul still in second. Starting to spread out a little bit now already. We're only on lap 4 and just, what, 3.5 minutes into this race, and we're already starting to see gaps. Grasshopper a couple of car lengths behind Paul, but the top 3 all on the soft tyres. Motorstorm Hero now made his way up to 4th. We said, didn't we, at the beginning, he started way down there in about 9th, 10th, something like that, and he's already up to 4th. So Motorstorm Hero doesn't mess about, and we see this week in and week out. So yeah, very quick guy, likes to get through the pack very early, get himself up there in amongst the leaders, which is exactly what he's done. Cherry Bomb on the medium tyres, still in 5th, and then we do have quite a gap then back to Brian Moncani. Brian starting on the hards, as he likes to do. Brian will start on the harder compound, then work his way through, and usually comes good towards the end. Brian is a fantastic strategist, if that's how you say it, and he's usually pretty spot on with his strategy, his tyre use and fuel and etc. So we'll keep an eye on Brian. Currently sitting in 6th. Archer in 7th. He's on the hard tyres, doing his stint, get it out of the way. Graham also getting rid of them early on. Brian the mechanic on softs. He's up. He's in 9th, and then we've got Chuck playing catch up, and he is catching up. The gap is definitely closing. But back up to our race leader, G-Mac. He has opened up quite a good gap now. He's got the fastest lap as well, a 102.5, as he goes down this very long straight. 902 metres long, the straight at the Autopolis, from the exit of turn 11 to the entry into turn 1. So 902 metres. That's a hell of a long straight. And G-Mac making the most of it, out in front. Paul still in second, looking comfortable so far, just trying to keep an even gap between himself and Grasshopper, although Grasshopper's got other ideas. But let's jump on board with Grasshopper, shall we, as we try and catch up to the back of Paul and put a bit of pressure on him. At the minute he's not doing that. Tyres are starting to wear down. You can see the front tyres are starting to show damage on Grasshopper's car. That's the section where you would normally turn left, isn't it, at turn 10, and we're through turn 11 and back onto the straight again. This is where you need to get in the slipstream. This really long straight can help with your overtakes if you can get into the slipstream, but Grasshopper not quite close enough to Paul to do that. As we go around turn 1, try not to throw it too far to the left, then into turn 2. Like I say, more of a kink in the road. Nice right hander for turn 3, and then immediately you're into turn 4, and then 5. It's almost like one big corner, that is, and then around the hairpin, which is turn 6. Little sort of kink in the road is turn 7. Around the long left-hander, which is turn 8, then into a right-hander, which is turn 9, and then, as I say, you would normally turn left there, but you don't. You carry on turning right through turn 10, across the curb, which is turn 11, and then we're back onto the start-finish straight again. So that was a lap with Grasshopper, trying to catch up to the back of Paul. Let's just have a look what's happening further down. Motorstorm Hero in 4th, Cherry Bomb in 5th, Brian Moncani in 6th, doing a good job on those hard tyres. Archer also on the hards. I think all the rest of the guys are on the hards, apart from Bry the mechanic and Chuck. Now Bry, I would have expected Bry to be a little bit further up the field than that, with the being on the soft tyres. He's just moved over to let Chuck through, so whether Bry the mechanic has got some issues. Again, we do know Bry is a very quick driver, so I really don't know what's happening with him, whether he just doesn't like this course or there's a problem with the car. He is very twitchy, so could be internet issues, I'm not sure, but I would have expected Bry the mechanic to be a bit further up the field than he is, especially on the soft tyres. Chuck, Marvin made his pit stop. He got rid of the hard tyres after at the end of lap 2. So he is fighting his way through the pack. He's got his teammate in front of him, Graham, and I'm sure there's going to be a bit of a chat between the two of them, and Chuck will be saying to Graham, come on mate, get out of my way, I'm on the softer compounds. So he's obviously going to be a little bit quicker, and I'm sure Graham will move out of the way. And there we go, Chuck pulls to the inside of Graham as they go down the straight, having a bit of a drag race. I thought Graham might have just dropped in behind Chuck there to get a bit of a tow, try and get himself away from Brian the mechanic. These two really could be working together to catch up to Archer in front. Chuck is on his way. Archer also on the hard tyres, so I'm sure that Chuck is going to be onto the back of him within the next, well, definitely within the next lap. Brian Moncani sitting in 6th, and then we've got quite a gap then up to the top 5. So Brian, he's obviously on the hard tyres, he's going to be slower than the guys in front. Cherry Bomb on the mediums, he's doing a good job of trying to keep in touch with the guys in front. In fact, he's getting to the point where he could even be making a challenge on Motorstorm Hero. Let's go on board with Motorstorm Hero as we enter turn 1, and we can just see the roof of Cherry Bomb's car. That's how close he is. Look like Motorstorm Hero got across the grass a little bit. Cherry Bomb having a bit of a cheeky look up the inside. Tyres really worn out on Motorstorm Hero's car, and that is why he's really fighting it, isn't he? He's really struggling to keep that car on track, and Cherry Bomb has made quite an easy pass. So Cherry Bomb has now moved up into 4th. Motorstorm Hero dropped to 5th, and I'm sure he's going to have to come and pit. Let's just have a look at the guys ahead of him. G-Mackey's tyres, well, they're slightly better than Motorstorm's, but they are showing signs of wear, and we're only on lap 10. We are just approaching just over 10.5 minutes into this race. Paul, he is about 40-45% wear on his tyres. Grasshopper, he's worn his a little bit more, and then Motorstorm is into the pit, so really abused his tyres, fighting his way from the back up to in amongst the leaders, but the tyres have suffered. So let's just have a look and see what Motorstorm comes out on. He's taking on some fuel, so fuel tank full, and he is now out, and he's come back out on, he's come out on the hard. So Motorstorm Heroes decided to get the hard tyres out of the way. He is now down in 9th and got some catching up to do, but the guys, as I say, in front have not pitted. Now Brian the mechanic, I'm actually quite concerned for him. He is really struggling down in 10th. He's on the soft tyres, and it just looks like he is struggling big time. So I'm not sure what's going on with Brian the mechanic down in 10th, but he just seems to be getting further and further away from the rest of the pack, and I'm sure it's not going to be long before the front runners are lapping him. So yeah, concerns for Brian the mechanic. Paul, in the other hand, is leading. So GMAC, what's happened to GMAC? GMAC, there he is. GMAC has pitted, and it looks like he's come out on a fresh set of softs. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you use a compound of tyre, as long as you use all 3. They're the rules, so you can use softs for half a dozen if you want to, half a dozen pit stops if you want to, and that's what GMAC's done. He's come in, he's come back out on a fresh set of softs, obviously trying to keep that lead, but he has entered back onto the track in 4th. Brian Moncani in 5th on the hard tyres still, so Brian will go quite deep into this race. So let's just go back up and see what's happening at the top with Paul. The Paul out in front, he's got Grasshopper not that far behind him in 2nd, and Cherry Bomb in 3rd. Now Paul and Grasshopper are going to have to pit before Cherry Bomb does, so Cherry Bomb could end up taking the lead of this race within the next couple of laps on the medium tyres. Yet to use the hards, and obviously yet to use the softs as well. maybe this is a good call from Cherry Bomb to start on the mediums. G-Mac doing everything he can to catch up to the guys in front so he can retake the lead. Obviously a different strategy for him. Maybe he's going for the 3 stops as opposed to the 2 like some of the other guys. I'm sure Brian is only looking at doing a 2-stop. He's on the hards at the minute, and they're hardly showing any signs of wear. And oh, Cherry Bomb! Oh, I thought Cherry Bomb were coming to the pits. It's not. It's Paul and Grasshopper both into the pit. So Cherry Bomb has taken over the lead of this race, as we said he would, and he's got quite a few laps in those tyres. So he'll be looking at trying to open up a bit of a gap now between himself and G-Mac. There is a gap there, obviously, but Cherry Bomb ideally would like to make that a lot bigger, as we see him coming around turns 5 and 6 through the hairpin. Goes Cherry Bomb, our new race leader. G-Mac, who has already made a stop and come back out on some soft tyres, some fresh soft tyres. He's desperately trying to catch back up with Cherry Bomb. So G-Mac obviously going for a 3-stop strategy. Brian Moncani moved up to 3rd on the hard tyres. Now Grasshopper and Paul are both back out, and well, Grasshopper's come out on the medium tyres and is chasing Brian Moncani down. Paul is on the hard tyres and trying to stick with Grasshopper, and Brian Moncani just ahead on the hards. He's yet to pit, so Grasshopper and Paul have both pitted, and they are really catching up to the back of Brian Moncani on those hard tyres. They will be up to temperature now, but they are still not going to be as good as a fresh set of softs or mediums. And you can see that Grasshopper is catching with every corner as they come up towards turn 3. And Grasshopper having a look at Brian. He's trying to pick his moment, isn't he? He's obviously got something in mind, Grasshopper. Maybe he's just going to try and get onto the back of Brian and try and get a better exit out of turn 10 and through 11, and then onto the straight where he can make an easy pass, unless Brian makes a mistake, which is very unlikely. So as they come up through turn 9, then this is where Grasshopper decides he's going to get closer to Brian into turn 10, and this is exactly what he wants. He needs a good exit from here so he can get in the slipstream of Brian. Well, he's not even bothering with the slipstream, is he? Oh, there we go. We're tucking in now. Paul just a few car lengths back. So is this where Grasshopper makes his move as they go into turn 1? He pulls to the inside. Well, no, Brian's just managed to hold on to it for now. Grasshopper's still trying to get his car on the inside as they approach turn 3. And I think this is where he gets it done. Through turn 3, fantastic racing from these two, side by side. Brian Moncani having an absolute stormer of a race, keeping Grasshopper behind him. Grasshopper on the medium tyres, Brian on the hards, and Brian having a fantastic battle with Grasshopper. Some brilliant defending from Brian. Grasshopper being very frustrated with it all at the minute. Paul is being is allowed to get a little bit closer to these guys. So while they're battling it out, and they go side by side again into turn 10, perhaps Grasshopper's going to try the same move. He's going to try and get a little bit closer, and he is. I think he needs to stick in the slipstream a little bit longer, but he's pulled out. Brian has gone defensive and has taken the inside line. Grasshopper has got to go all the way around the outside if he wants to get this move done. They are still side by side going into turn 1. What a fantastic battle these two are having. We're just going to stick with them. Paul has now managed to get right onto the back of them as well. Grasshopper now moves to the inside as they come up to turn 3. Brian Moncani, he's trying to get, he's still in there, isn't he, Brian? He's battling away on those hard tyres. Still side by side. It's almost like these two are locked together through these series of turns, and Brian has still managed to hold on to that 3rd position. What fantastic racing we've got from these guys as they go through turn 7, then into the left-hander, which is turn 8, this long sweeping left-hander, and then immediately into a right-hander, sweeping their way round and up towards turn 10. Grasshopper desperately trying to get by Brian. Brian is hanging on with everything he's got, and it is some fantastic defending. Grasshopper tries to position the car again. This time he has tucked himself right underneath the rear wing of Brian Moncani's car. Grasshopper now pulls to the inside as they come down towards turn 1 at the end of this 902 metre run, should I say. 920, they wish. Grasshopper still tucked underneath the rear wing of Brian Moncani. This time has Grasshopper got it done as they go through turn 3 up towards turn 4. Grasshopper looks like he might have finally got his nose in front of Brian Moncani. What a fantastic race between these guys, and Paul is just sitting there watching this all unfold in front of him, hoping that one of them would make a mistake, and neither of them did. And sorry to the other guys for not following you, but we really did need to stick with that. And what a fantastic battle that was between Grasshopper and Brian Moncani, and this is exactly what we pay our money for. This is what we come and see. The crowd are absolutely loving it. Brian Moncani now settling into 4th, with Paul sitting just behind it in 5th, so Brian has now got to try and defend against Paul. Motorstorm Hero up to 6 on the hard tyres. Archer in 7th. Chuck, he's made his way up into 8th. Graham still on the hard tyres down in 9th, with Brian the mechanic really struggling. And we're not quite sure what's happened to poor old Bry, but something is definitely not right with him. Back up to our race leader then, with all of this happening, not that far behind him. He has still got a bit of a gap back to G-Mac. G-Mac, those tyres really being punished. So Cherry Bomb, as I said earlier on, I think he may have made the right call here and started on mediums. G-Mac has already pitted and he's out on a second set of soft tyres. Then we've got this fantastic battle for the 3rd podium spot of the minute. Grasshopper fighting his way past Brian Moncani, and has now got 2, 3, 4 car lengths gap between himself and Brian, so Grasshopper can really start to make those medium tyres work. Brian Moncani done an absolute stormer of a job on those hards to keep in 4th position. He's now got Paul behind him and has got a little bit more defending to do. Brian yet to stop, of course, and Paul and Grasshopper both have stopped. Paul is on the hard tyres as well though, so he's maybe looking to go a little bit further into the race than Grasshopper, because Grasshopper's come out on the mediums. Maybe he's saving the hards for the last part of the race. Motorstorm Hero in 6th position, not really making any more headway. He sort of stormed his way through the pack, as his name would suggest. He started near the back, got himself right up into 4th or 5th, and really abused the tyres, had to make a stop, and has come out on the hards, and has sort of settled into 6th now and has calmed down. Laps are all very steady at 103. Current fastest lap, well, Brian the mechanic at a 102, so here's me worrying about Brian the mechanic, and he's chucked in a fastest lap on lap 13, so I don't know then. Maybe Bry had some issues, he's got them sorted, I hope so, and he's now trying to catch up to the back of Graham. So welcome to the race, Bry the mechanic. Back up to the top, Cherry Brom, just coming across the start finish line to start lap 22. We've got probably, what, 6-5? No, it's not even that, is it? Well, I don't know, it might be about a 5-second gap back to G-Mac as Cherry Bomb goes around turn 1 and then 2. G-Mac now just entering turn 1. So it's Cherry Bomb in P1, G-Mac P2, then Grasshopper, then Paul. So Paul has managed to get by Brian Moncani. Apologies we missed that, but Paul now moved up into 4th. Brian Moncani dropped down to 5th after his fantastic battle a few laps ago with Grasshopper. But Brian has not given up yet. He's trying to get back up and onto Paul. But Brian right in the thick of it, very early on in this race. He's yet to pit, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do around this course on the mediums and the soft tyres. We are just 23.5 minutes into this 60-minute race, and it is already had some fantastic battles taking place. Motorstorm Hero down in 6th. He is making progress now. I think he is getting a little bit closer to the back of Brian and Paul. On the hard tyres, remember he really abused the soft tyres early on, and I don't think that really helped him much, because he had to pit. He's come out on hards and found himself down in 9th, but he's made his way up into 6th. Still quite a bit of work ahead of him though, if he wants to get in amongst the leaders again. Archer in 7th with Chuck just behind him. Archer yet to pit, still out on the hard tyres he started with. So doing okay at the minute is Archer. Chuck in 8th. Well, those tyres are starting to look worn, aren't they? Remember, Chuck started out on the hards, got rid of them after lap 2 and changed to softs. He's been trying to work his way through the pack. As we see, GMAC has come into the pits again. So Cherry Bomb has stayed out. GMAC, this is his second stop. He's had to come in for fuel and a change of tyres. So that's going to put GMAC down the order. He's dropped to 6th. Where's Archer? Archer just coming around turn 11 with Chuck just behind him. GMAC is on his way out, so GMAC rejoins in 6th position. Then we've got Archer in 7th and Chuck in 8th, although Chuck, yeah, the fuel light's flashing, so Chuck is definitely going to have to pit at the end of this lap. Archer, well, he's probably got another couple of laps in that fuel tank. Tyres are okay. So if he can keep Chuck behind him, Chuck is going to have to make his second stop, whereas Archer's not stopped at all yet. We'll just go back up to the top and have a look where Cherry Bomb is. Well, there we go. You can see that Cherry Bomb is a good 902 metres between himself and Grasshopper, because it is the length of that start-finish straight. Grasshopper has got the fuel light flashing. He feels he can get another lap out of that fuel tank. Cherry Bomb really looking after his fuel. Tyres, they're still looking fantastic. So you know, Cherry Bomb has played an absolute blinder in the first part of this race. Grasshopper in second. Remember, he has pitted, but he didn't take any fuel on, so he's going to have to pit for fuel at least. Paul also pitted. He came out on the hard tyres. It looks like Paul didn't take much fuel either, because he is now less than a quarter of a tank. So Paul will have to be pitting soon. Brian Moncani, well, he's going to have to pit for fuel, isn't he? Not made any stops yet as Brian. Currently sitting in 4th. Motorstorm Hero has moved up to 5th. This is because GMAC has come in to pit again. So Motorstorm moved up to 5th. He's on the hard tyres. He has just under half a tank of fuel, so he's okay for quite a few laps yet. So hopefully he can make some spaces up when the guys ahead of him start to pit. GMAC is now out on the medium tyres and a full tank of fuel, and this is his second stop. Now, we did say that we think GMAC is going to do a 3-stop race. He has yet to use the hard tyres, so he does have one more stop to make. Archer yet to stop, and it looks like with the fuel light flashing, he will be coming in at the end of this lap, as we see him come up to turn 3 now. He's going around at an average, I would say, of about 105. Is Archer on the hard tyres. Bit of a lonely race for him at the minute. And when he pits, let's have a look. Where's Graham and Chuck? So I think Archer might come out around about 8, 9, something like that. Grasshopper in the pits again. So Grasshopper has had to pit for fuel. No, it doesn't look like he's changing the tyres, so he's going to stay on the medium tyres that they had originally. unless I've missed that, but it doesn't look like the tyre. It looks like the tyre guy really got the ump, hasn't he? Threw that tyre down. Grasshopper came in, and the guy changing the tyres weren't needed, and it looked like they took the grizzles over that. So Grasshopper back out on the medium tyres that he changed earlier. He's just took on fuel and rejoins it in 6th. He's got Archer not that far behind him now in 7th, although Archer is going to have to pit at the end of this lap. Graham still on the original hard tyres and has yet to pit. We are just approaching 29 minutes into this race. So Graham's still on the original hard tyres. Chuck, he's on another 3-stop, I think, because Chuck is back out on some medium tyres and a full tank of fuel. So Chuck has done the hard tyres, he's done the softs, and now out on the mediums, and I'm not sure they're going to last him the whole race, but we shall see. Brian the mechanic made his stop. He's now out on the hard tyres. Remember, he started on the softs and was struggling really, but he's got the fastest lap. So we shall see what happens to Brian the mechanic. He's got a hell of a task in front of him if he wants to make up any places. We can see Archer in the pits, currently sitting in 7th. Now where's Chuck? Chuck has just gone through turn 11 and he's going down the start finish straight. Archer is just going to make it out in front of Chuck, so Archer rejoins in 8th, so he's only lost 1 position. Cherry Bomb, our race leader, into the pits finally. Now where is Paul? Paul just coming through turn 11, although Paul is going to have to pit. Brian Mulcarney, looks like Brian Mulcarney is following him into the pits as well, so Motorstorm Hero, is he going to take the lead, or is Cherry Bomb out? No, Cherry Bomb has made it out of the pits. So Cherry Bomb, our race leader, has gone on to the hard tyres now and has rejoined back in P1. We've got Motorstorm Hero. We just saw him coming around turn 2 in the background as we were watching Cherry Bomb, and that's Motorstorm Hero now as he goes through turn 3. He's not that far behind Cherry Bomb. Oh, was a bit of a slide on there for Motorstorm Hero, but he caught it. We've got G-Mac, who led at the beginning of the race, but I think got his strategy a bit wrong. He made an extra stop for the soft tyres after they worn out. He's currently sitting in 3rd. Grasshopper in 4th on the mediums. Quite a gap between himself and G-Mac. Brian Mulcarney back out on the medium tyres, so I'll be interested to see what Brian can do on the softer compounds. Currently in 5th, he's got Paul just tucked up right behind him. Paul also on the medium tyres, so Paul has come in to change his tyres. And has rejoined in 6th just behind Brian, so equally matched for power unit and tyres now, so it's going to be an interesting race between these two. In fact, let's jump on board with Paul, shall we, as we chase Brian Mulcarney down the start finish straight towards turn 1. Paul, I don't think he's close enough to put a challenge in on Brian as they hit turn 1. Through turn 2 they go, and then down towards this right hander of turn 3. Chucks you straight into turn 4 and 5, a double apex turn, and then into the hairpin of turn 6. Paul trying to get as close as he can to Brian as they go around turn 8. The only one with a name, and it's just 100R. It's the only name I can find anyway for this track. And then into turn 10 they go, and then 11 back onto the start finish straight. Paul again desperately trying to get closer to Brian Mulcarney to get into that slipstream. He's just not going to do it, is he? Archer back up to 7th, where he's been for most of the race. We've got Chuck down in 8th. Brian the mechanic now made his way up into 9th, so obviously Graham has made a stop, but Graham has come out on soft tyres. Now who's that in between Graham and Brian the Mechanic? Oh, it's Cherry Bomb, it's our race leader. I thought there was another car there. So you got Brian the Mechanic in 9th, Graham in 10th, but in between both of them is our current race leader, Cherry Bomb. Now he won't mind if he can get a little bit closer to Chuck, then Cherry Bomb can get a bit of a tow, I think. Sorry, Brian the Mechanic, he wants to get closer to Brian the Mechanic so he can get a bit of a tow down, especially down the start finish straight. So let's just have a look where is Motorstorm Hero. Now Motorstorm is not that far away from Cherry Bomb, but if you're looking at the tyres, Cherry Bomb on the hards as well, there's hardly anything on there, is there? He's got over half a tank of fuel, so he's good for quite a few laps yet. Motorstorm Hero on the other hand, less than a quarter of a tank of fuel, and his hard tyres are really worn. So Motorstorm Hero really punishing the tyres around Autopolis today. He's got GMAC all over the back of him, pushing him for that second podium spot. GMAC, his tyres look a lot more grippy, so GMAC will have the slight advantage. Obviously Motorstorm's on the hard tyres, GMAC on the mediums, and they look a lot fresher. So I'm sure it won't be long before GMAC is actually making a move on Motorstorm Hero and trying to take that second position away from him. He's on a purple sector as well, is GMAC, so that fastest lap of Brian the Mechanics is starting to look under threat. Let's just stick with these two as they fight their way around the hairpin. GMAC trying his best. Oh, bit of a complaint from that Lexus there, but GMAC held on to it as we go around 100R for the 33rd time, and we're only just over really halfway through this race, and this is where GMAC starts to line up Motorstorm Hero. They go around turn 10. GMAC wants to get as close as he can. He's going to tuck right under the rear wing of Motorstorm Hero. He needs a good exit from turn 10 and 11. Now, is he going to get close enough to make a move? I don't think he is. I think Motorstorm Hero has got to turn 1 before GMAC, but GMAC now is right up there under the smelly end of Motorstorm Hero's car, virtually pushing him along. He's having a look left and right, isn't he? He's trying to go around the outside at turn 3, maybe looking for the cutback. Motorstorm Hero is definitely wise to that one. Still holding on to second as we watch these two guys go around the hairpin at turn 6 into turn 7. GMAC tucked right underneath Motorstorm Hero around 100R turn 8, and GMAC's still there, so maybe the plan now is to stay with him through turns 10 and 11, get a good exit out of 11 and get into the slipstream. Try and get the move done before they get to the end of the start finish straight and turn 1. Now Motorstorm Hero, he's dived to the left, so is Motorstorm Hero coming to the pits? No, he's not. He is just defending against GMAC. GMAC going left and right, he's having a bit of a look, but still cannot get it done. This is great defending and racing from Motorstorm Hero and GMAC. We're just going to stay with them for another 1 or 2 corners. I'm just going to have a look up at the front. We've got, I thought Cherry Bomb was battling with somebody, but he's not. It was Graham, he was just trying to pass him. So the fight really is for second or third, and GMAC is really being frustrated by Motorstorm Hero. Motorstorm Hero doing a brilliant job. The fuel light is on though, so unfortunately he's going to have to give that place up to GMAC when Motorstorm Hero pits. It is a bit of a shame because they are having an awesome race, but this is where Motorstorm Hero is going to have to stay left and come into the pits unless he feels, as he does. They always try and prove me wrong, don't they? Motorstorm Hero goes defensive. He's decided to stay out. He can get one more lap out of it. GMAC just needs to sit there. Now obviously GMAC doesn't know how much Motorstorm Hero has got in the tank unless they're talking to each other, which I very much doubt. So GMAC is going to keep pushing and pushing. Now Motorstorm Hero has just had a fastest sector. He has gone purple on the hard tyres with hardly any fuel, so He's having a great race. Obviously the car's going to be a lot lighter, but he is on worn hard tyres. All GMAC has to do is just stay within touching distance, and then Motorstorm Hero, when he pits, GMAC will move up into second. Obviously he doesn't know how much fuel is in Motorstorm's car, and he's picked up a half-second penalty, which he will be cussing and cursing about. But as I say, when Motorstorm comes into the pits, there will be a sigh of relief, I'm sure, from GMAC. And there we go, Motorstorm into the pits. GMAC moves through into second. Cherry Bomb is still out in front. He has got a bit of company with him, and it's Graham. But Graham is down in 10th. GMAC is going to have to serve that half-second penalty. So let's just have a look at the difference. Cherry Bomb and GMAC. Well, it's not that big a gap. Grasshopper sitting in third. Then we've got Brian Mulcahy still sitting in fourth. He's out on the medium tyres and half a tank of fuel. He's got Paul just sitting behind him. Paul has got a lot more fuel. He's on the medium tyres, the same as Brian Mulcahy, so these two have settled down a little bit. Motorstorm back out on the medium tyres and, well, just over 3/4 of a tank of fuel, so he thinks he can make it to the end of the race now on those tyres and that fuel. It'll be interesting to see how far up the grid he can get. Archer sitting in 7th, those tyres looking very worn now, so he's going to be in the pits within the next lap or two. Chuck just sitting behind him on a decent set of medium tyres, so again Chuck will be looking at moving up into P7 within the next lap or two as well. Then we've got Brian the Mechanic made his way up into 9th, with Graham in 10th on soft tyres, but they are starting to look worn, and he will start to feel that very soon as he goes around turn 6 and the hairpin bend. So back up to our current race leader. Now I'm just trying to work out how much distance there is between them, and I would say it is about 7 or 8 seconds, I'm guessing, as Cherry Bomb goes around turn 10 and 11 and back onto the start finish straight, just as GMAC enters as well. Now you can see there it's probably not even 7 seconds, it's probably more like 4 or 5 now. So GMAC definitely on a charge. Cherry Bomb still on the hard tyres, so GMAC will have a bit of an advantage, but only for the next sort of few laps. But as his tyres start to deteriorate, then the advantage will be handed back to Cherry Bomb. Been a bit of a mixed race for GMAC. He led for the first part of this race, then he stopped, put another set of softs on and came back out, so used soft tyres twice, so he's obviously going for a 3-stopper. Cherry Bomb, I think he's just going to do the 2 stops, and I think that's what's enabled him to stay out. The extra stop that GMAC has done has put Cherry Bomb in the lead, and GMAC has done well actually to get back up into second, and he's got a bit of distance between himself and Grasshopper. Grasshopper having a fantastic fight with Brian Mulcahy earlier on in the race. For a good couple of laps they were side by side, but Grasshopper now settled into third with Brian in 4th. So Grasshopper on, well, he's on pretty worn medium tyres, still plenty of life in them. As you see everybody lined up there on the start finish straight. Brian Mulcahy in 4th, he's got Paul just behind him in 5th, Motorstorm is in 6th, Chuck is in 7th, Archer out on a fresh set of medium tyres, he's sitting in 8th with Brian the Mechanic, made his way up into 9th. Bright, well, we're not sure what the issues were with Bright at the start of the race, but he seemed to be going backwards and getting further and further away from everybody, but some of those issues seem to have been sorted. He's now up into 9th and getting closer and closer. Oh, well, I was going to say to Archer, but it's not, it's Grasshopper in front. But Bright looks a lot livelier now, which is good to see. Let's just have a look, where is Archer? Well, Archer's on the start finish straight, and Brian the Mechanic just coming around turn 10 now. and on to the start finish straight as Archer gets to the start of turn 1. But right back in the race, at least we've got Graham sitting in 10th, and then we can see some of the leaders just behind Graham, and that is Brian Moncani in 4th, and Paul, I think it was, in 5th. It was. So let's just jump on board with Brian. You can see we've got Paul in the distance as Brian goes around turn 3 and then into the double apex turn of turns 4 and 5. You treat it as one turn, really. It is classed as 2, but you treat it as 1. And then into 100R, or turn 8. It's this long left-hander, and then immediately straight into a right-hander, which is turn 9. You would normally turn left there, but you're not. You're thrown straight into this tight right-hander, which is turn 10, into 11, and then back onto the start-finish straight. All still there, just a few car lengths behind Brian Moncani. So we are just approaching 45 minutes, so 15 minutes of this race left, as we're following Brian Moncani. So back up to our race leader. Let's see what's happening up at the top. Cherry Bomb had this race pretty much his own way for the majority of it. I think he's got his tactics spot on, and he will be changing shortly onto the soft tyres, I believe. So Cherry Bomb will be on the softer compound tyres for the run-in to the end of the race. Now currently he is our race leader. We've got GMAC, who is not that far. You can see there just the distance. So GMAC not that far behind in 2nd. He has got another stop to make as well, and I believe that GMAC has got to go onto the hard tyres. So Cherry Bomb looking comfortable at the minute for the win. Grasshopper quite a distance behind, unfortunately. He's already made 2 stops as well. But Grasshopper out on the medium tyres. He's okay for fuel. Brian Moncani in 4th. He will be out, as I said, onto the soft compound tyres, and I'm sure he'll be making that stop very shortly, with Paul sitting in 5th. Then Motorstorm Hero up to 6th. He's now getting closer and closer to the back of Paul on the medium tyres that look very good as well. So plenty of life in those tyres for Motorstorm Hero. Chuck down in 7th, with Archer in 8th. Graham is 9th. He's getting a blue flag waved at him. Who is it that's coming up behind him? And it is Brian Moncani. But Brian, I'm sure, won't mind. He'll be getting a tow down this start-finish straight, and he'll accept that one. And I don't blame him. Now, obviously, Graham will move out of Brian's way as Brian gets closer to him. But Brian just accepting the free tow. Oh, well, Graham got completely out of the way there, went off-road. Didn't quite need to do that. He's also let Paul through as well. And it looks like, Motorstorm has gone by as well. So Graham just trying to avoid the front runners and trying to stay out of their way and let them race. Brian the mechanic back down in 10th, but that's because of a pit stop. He's now out on soft tyres again. And that should be enough to take him to the end of the race. But really, we're interested in what's happening up at the top. And yeah, you can see that GMAC is not that far behind Cherry Bomb. I'm just looking at the tyres. Cherry Bomb on the hard tyres. He is running out of fuel. It's not quite red yet, but it will be. Well, there you go, right on cue. So the fuel light flashing for Cherry Bomb. It will be the same for GMAC any time now, so the two of them will probably pit around about the same time. The difference being that Cherry Bomb is going to come out on the softs, and I believe that GMAC is going to have to come out on the hard tyres. Now, I said it earlier, I think Cherry Bomb has got his tactics absolutely spot on for this race. So let's just see if he stays out for one more lap or he decides to come in. We've only got 12 minutes, well, less than 12 minutes of this race left. So let's just see what Cherry Bomb decides to do. He's going to stay out. He's going to go one more lap. G-Mac has decided to stay with him. So P1 and P2 staying out. There's Grasshopper in P3 at the minute. Just comes around turn 10 through 11. I think he's going to stay out. Brian the Mechanic, oh, Brian Moncani, not Brian the Mechanic, sorry, the two of them, very similar names, obviously. Brian Moncani is in, so he's going to go onto the softs, coming in 6, so let's just have a look. Where is Chuck? Chuck in 7, just coming around turn 10 now, so Chuck will probably take P6 away from Brian. The fuel going into Brian's car. Well, Brian is now heading back out. Where's Chuck? Oh, and Brian just manages to get out ahead of Chuck. And as I said, Brian is on the soft tyres, so the guys ahead of him are still to pit. So this is going to be a great run-in to the end of this race. Cherry Bomb still managing to hang on to that lead. G-Mac has got closer and closer, although they both have the fuel lights flashing now. Cherry Bomb has come in, he's gone for the undercut. Well, it's not an undercut, is he? Because he's actually leading, but Cherry Bomb has pulled into the pits first. He's going to come out, and I do think he's going on to the soft tyres. He will get a splash of fuel just to get him to the end of the race. G-Mac, he's definitely going to have to pit at the end of this next lap. So Cherry Bomb, where's he going to rejoin? Let's have a look. Cherry Bomb has come out just behind Grasshopper. So Grasshopper moves up into second, Cherry Bomb in third, Motorstorm Hero is fourth. Paul has come into the pits for his final stop. So Paul rejoins in fifth position. Oh, just ahead of Brian Moncani, but has Brian got the momentum to take him through turn 1? Brian dives to the inside, and I think it is just the momentum that carried him through. Paul still challenging though, that Brian moves up into fifth. Brian on the soft tyres, Paul on the mediums. And Brian's tyres obviously up to temperature. There we see the current race leader, G-Mac, has come into the pits. Now then, Grasshopper going around turn 10. He's got Cherry Bomb stuck to his backside as they go through turn 11. Grasshopper doesn't need to pit yet. Now, I'm not sure he's going to get those medium tyres to the end of the race. Cherry Bomb is just sitting there behind him, picking up the slipstream as they head down towards turn 1. But Grasshopper now takes over the lead of this race, but for how long can he hold Cherry Bomb off? Tyres very worn on Grasshopper's car, so he is going to have to pit. So Cherry Bomb is soon to be taking over the lead of this race again as they go around turns 4 and 5. Cherry Bomb is second. Motorstorm Hero, he's still sitting in there. Now he, interestingly enough, I think Motorstorm Hero can make it to the end of this race. So Cherry Bomb really has got a challenge on his hands. Motorstorm Hero on the medium tyres, Cherry Bomb on the softs, and a fresh set at that. But Motorstorm, we know how quick he is. Currently in third with Grasshopper, who is yet to pit and will be doing so very shortly. Cherry Bomb trying to get by Grasshopper before he does the pit stop. Cherry Bomb going defensive. He's got the inside line. Grasshopper has got his nose in front, but I think Cherry Bomb is more concerned about Motorstorm Hero sitting there in third. Motorstorm is just going to have to watch these two go side by side through turn 1. Cherry Bomb gets his nose in front. Grasshopper has to slot into second. Motorstorm Hero has followed Cherry Bomb through, and he's now side by side with Grasshopper. Grasshopper demoted to third as Motorstorm Hero goes through and is chasing Cherry Bomb. That is where the race is going to be. It's whoever gets that P1, and Motorstorm Hero, as I say, we do know how quick he is, although he is on the medium tyres. Grasshopper down in third. He's going to have to change them tyres, I think, before the end of the race. He'll probably try and prove me wrong. G-Mac, who did lead for a good part of the start of this race, now down in fourth. He's probably looking at getting up onto the podium as well. He's on the hard tyres and desperately trying to get them up to temperature as he puts Grasshopper under a bit of pressure. Brian Moncani in fifth. He is a bit of distance between them. Let's just see as G-Mac Puts a challenge on Grasshopper. He's having a bit of a look up the inside, isn't he? He's got his car there. No, Grasshopper just shuts the door on him, or does he? No, Grasshopper goes wide. Oh, what a disaster for Grasshopper. We have not had to go back and look at an incident for quite a while, so let's do this. Grasshopper has stayed out. Now, this just may be the fact that he couldn't get the car slowed down enough because of the tyres. We see G-Mac there, just pulls to the inside, gets his car in the position he wants it at. Although Grasshopper tried to shut him out, he just couldn't get the car slowed down enough. I think he was trying to give G-Mac a bit of room and ends up on the dirt. So Grasshopper now down to 4th. He is going to have to pit, I think, though, to change that tyre, and that's pretty much his chance of a podium over. I'm just going to go back up to the top and see what's happening. Cherry Bomb doing a fantastic job. He's actually starting to pull away from Motorstorm, I think. Motorstorm may now be starting to struggle a little bit. The front right tyre is showing a bit of wear, so he may be struggling. Cherry Bomb does look like he's pulling away from him. G-Mac in 3rd. Now he will be concentrating on trying to get onto the back of Motorstorm as they go down and across the start finish for the 51st time. So 51 laps so far, and we still have about 5.5 minutes, fast approaching 5.5 minutes left. Grasshopper has come into the pits. We said he would, to change them tyres. Paul in 6th. He's going to see this race to the end on these medium tyres, I'm sure. He now moves up into 5th position. Excuse me. Grasshopper now back out, and he's got out ahead of Chuck, so Grasshopper rejoins in 6th. Chuck in 7th. It's all very lonely for Chuck. He is on the soft tyres, but he's just going to have to see the rest of this race out in 7th position. Archer in 8th. Same for him. He's just going to see this race out in 8th position, I think. Graham in 9th, and Bright the mechanic, who never really got going in this race, down in 10th. I mean, hats off to him. He stuck at it, but whether it's an issue with the car, an issue with the track, an issue with his internet, I don't know. But it's not Brian the mechanic that we are used to seeing. So I'm sure he'll be very happy to see the checkered flag, so he can forget this one and move on to next week. But up at the top, at the pointy end, Cherry Bomb out in front. He is starting to open up and stretch his legs, open up that gap back to Motorstorm Hero. So Cherry Bomb has got about 4 minutes of this race to go, so we're probably looking around about another 2 or 3 laps, and Cherry Bomb doing a fantastic job. Tyres are starting to wear, so he just needs to keep an eye on them. Fuel just under quarter of a tank, so again probably needs to start thinking about a bit of fuel saving. The gap's there, he's opened it up back to Motorstorm, so I think Cherry Bomb can afford to do a little bit of fuel saving and try and look after his tyres a little bit better. Motorstorm, on the other hand, has really got to be careful. He has got G-Mac bearing down on him. G-Mac is on the hard tyres, but they are a fresh set. They will be up to temperature now as well. Motorstorm Hero, on the other hand, who does like to abuse his tyres, is looking very worn, especially the front right. He will start to feel that very, very shortly. So G-Mac may be feeling he can get on the second step of the podium. It's going to be an interesting run-in for these two. Brian Moncani, well, I think he got his tactics right. It's just not paid off for him in this race. Cherry Bomb was spot on with his tactics. Brian, usually very good at this. We said he'd come good, and he has. Sitting in 4th. So I'm sure he'll be pleased with that, and why not? Paul in 5th. He's probably settled for 5th now, with Grasshopper in 6th. Chuck in 7th, Archer, Graham, and then Brian the mechanic. So this is, as I've said many times, this is where the race really is taking part, and it is Cherry Bomb, Motorstorm, and G-Mac. I'm pretty confident at the minute that Cherry Bomb is going to be on the big step of that podium, but who is going to be on second and who is going to be on the third. G-Mac is getting closer and closer to Motorstorm. Motorstorm, I think he's really starting to feel it from that front right. He will be struggling with the steering. Let's jump on board with Motorstorm as we have a look through his rear mirror at the hat box. And we can just see over the hat box is G-Mac's car there. Now, if you can see all of the car, then you know there is 2 or 3 car lengths between you. If you can only see the roof, then obviously you know he is tucked right underneath your rear wing. And at the minute, I would say there is a couple of car lengths between the two of them as we go across the start-finish line and start lap 55. Cherry Bomb is gone and away in the distance. The race is not with him anymore for Motorstorm. It is definitely with G-Mac, and you've seen him drift very wide there as well. That would have given G-Mac a bit of encouragement as Motorstorm really struggles now to keep it on track. He's doing a fantastic job though. I don't think I would be able to keep it that much on the tarmac with a tyre that worn, but well done to Motorstorm for doing it. G-Mac though really trying to pile the pressure on, trying to force a mistake from Motorstorm. We are into the last minute, so we will start having a look and seeing where people finish. Brian is in 4th, Paul currently 5th, Grasshopper 6th. Then we've got Chuck, Archer in 8th, Graham, and then Brian the Mechanic down in 10th. So I'm going to be having a look at the time and see where people finish. The fuel light is on for Cherry Bomb, but he is going to finish this lap. Motorstorm and G-Mac still fighting it out for 2nd and 3rd. We have 30 seconds, so if G-Mac wants to get up a bit further on the podium, he needs to hurry up and do something. This is their final lap as they hit turn 3. Let's just go down the order and have a look and see where people are finishing. Grasshopper is going to go, he's going to get another lap in. So it could well be Chuck that finishes this race first in 7th position. And Chuck doesn't want to do another lap. He's pulled over so that he can finish in 7th, and I don't blame him. He's had enough. Archer just getting overtaken by Cherry Bomb. So let's have a look as Cherry Bomb goes across the line to take the win, and well done to him. A fantastic win for Cherry Bomb. Archer finishes in 8th. Then we've got the race down to the line, and Motorstorm Hero has kept his position too. G-Mac in 3rd. What a fantastic race they had. Brian Moncani finishing in 4th, and what a contribution he had, especially earlier on with the race with Grasshopper. Paul finishing in 5th and Grasshopper in 6th. Well, what fantastic racing from these guys in these GR2 Lexus cars. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. If you did, please hit that like button. If you haven't already subscribed, if you could do so, it really does help me out. And I really do look forward to seeing you again next week. I'm not sure where we're going to be, but I do know it is going to be some more fantastic racing, so join me then.